Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Bennett. Today we're talking about a question that's common in dating and also very easy to misunderstand. Why does pulling back sometimes increase her curiosity? It sounds paradoxical, right? If you show more effort, she should feel more drawn in. So why would stepping back make her pay attention? But I want to be clear from the start. Pulling back here is not silent treatment, not hot and cold games, and not trying to make her anxious so she chases you. Those tactics can create anxious attachment, but they rarely build a healthy relationship. In this episode, pulling back means the mature version, stepping back to restore balance, protect self-respect, stop being always available, and give attraction space to breathe. Of course, this won't apply to everyone. People are different, and context matters more than a single sign. But if you understand the psychology, you'll know when pulling back is healthy and when it's self-sabotage. Let's start with a real-life situation. You like her, so you text consistently, you initiate, you check in, you're very present. At first, she seems receptive, but over time she replies slower, initiates less, and sometimes feels distant. You get worried, so you text more, explain more, try harder to pull her back. And the more you pull, the more she retreats. Then the moment you stop pushing, she suddenly asks, "Why have you been quieter? Are you busy? Is something wrong?" Curiosity appears. Why? There are three main psychological layers behind this: scarcity and perceived value, information gaps, and autonomy in the dynamic. I'll break down each one, and I'll give you signs, examples, and conversation scripts so you can do it the right way, without manipulation, without toxicity, and without losing your warmth. First layer, scarcity and value. Humans tend to value what isn't always available, not because they're bad, but because the brain pays attention to what could be lost. When you're always available, always responding instantly, always initiating, always rearranging your life, you can accidentally send the signal, "My presence is guaranteed." And once something feels guaranteed, many people stop noticing it, not on purpose, but unconsciously. When you step back naturally, because you're living your life, honoring your priorities, not orbiting around her, your presence gains weight. She feels he has his own life. He's not dependent on me. He's not so easy to read. And that mild unpredictability can increase attention. But here's the key difference. Being not always available is not the same as being unclear. Not always available means you have a real rhythm. Being unclear means you intentionally confuse her. We're not doing that. Second layer, the information gap. Curiosity is often created when the brain meets an unfinished story. If you've been consistently present and then you become less constant, the brain feels a gap. What changed? And the brain wants to close that gap by seeking more information. That's why sometimes pulling back makes her reach out. But this only works in a healthy way if you've created a positive experience before: warmth, respect, clarity. If you are disrespectful, inconsistent, or playing games, pulling back won't create curiosity. It will create relief, and she'll move on. So pulling back only has a positive effect when you're already a man with value, stability, and good communication. Third layer, autonomy. Here's a truth most people don't notice. When you push too much, texting constantly, needing frequent reassurance, trying to meet all the time, she may feel like she's being pulled into your rhythm. Even if you mean well, that can feel like pressure. And when people feel pressure, they naturally pull back to regain control. That's normal psychology. When you step back, the pressure lifts, she can breathe again, and without feeling pushed, she may choose to come closer on her own. In other words, you're not stepping back to make her chase. You're stepping back to restore a dynamic where both people choose each other freely. Now let's separate two types of pulling back. The unhealthy type is pulling back as punishment, disappearing, going cold, trying to make her worry, then returning like nothing happened. That creates insecurity and often leads to anxious, unstable relationships. The healthy type is pulling back as balance. You remain polite, warm, and clear, but you stop overinvesting, stop abandoning your self-respect, and stop making her the center of your life. That version creates respect, and if curiosity happens, it's healthy curiosity. This man has depth. He has a life. He doesn't need me to feel okay. So how do you know when you should pull back? This is important because many people pull back at the wrong time and lose momentum. Consider pulling back when you notice these patterns. You initiate 80 to 90% of the time. You always start conversations. You always propose plans. She rarely asks questions about you. She responds with low effort. You feel anxious around texting. You're neglecting your routines just to stay connected. You feel like if you don't message first, you'll lose her. Those are signs you're overinvesting and need balance. But if she's responsive, reciprocal, and respectful, you don't need to pull back just to create curiosity. Healthy relationships don't require strategies to keep someone interested. Here are 3 mature levels of pulling back, depending on your situation. Level 1 is pulling back in texting rhythm. If you've been texting all day, shift to fewer messages with more meaning. Instead of sending 10 small pings, send 1 quality message. How was your day? And let her reply. No stacking messages to keep the conversation alive. Level 2 is pulling back in planning. If you always ask, when are you free, and constantly adjust to her schedule, offer 2 clear options. I'm free Thursday or Sunday. What works for you? If she doesn't choose, you don't beg. You say, no worries. When you want to meet, suggest a day and you return to your life. Level 3 is pulling back emotionally. If you're oversharing too fast or seeking constant reassurance, slow it down and keep it proportional to what's real. I enjoy seeing you. Let's keep getting to know each other step by step. No big promises after 2 dates. No emotional dumping. Pulling back here means bringing your emotions back into a healthy pace. You might ask, but if I pull back, won't she think I've lost interest? The key is, you don't disappear. You reduce intensity and increase quality. And if you want to prevent misunderstandings, you can say one simple, mature sentence. I like talking to you. I just want a more balanced rhythm. I'm not someone who texts all day, but I do care. That's warm, clear, and drama-free. Let me walk you through a full mini scenario. You've known her for 2 weeks. You text daily, respond fast, check in often. She starts replying less. If you increase intensity, she'll likely feel overwhelmed. If you pull back the healthy way, you do this. You send 1 message with intention, and then you go live your life. For example, I'm a bit busy tonight, but I wanted to ask, did anything good happen in your day? Then you stop. You don't follow up if she hasn't replied. The next day, if she responds, you reply warmly and propose a clear plan. Let's grab coffee this weekend, Saturday at 4 works? If she says, maybe, you don't negotiate. You say, all good. Let me know when your schedule is clear, and you stop. You're not sulking. You're not trying to trigger anxiety. You're simply refusing to turn yourself into someone who's always waiting. What happens in her psychology? First, pressure drops. Second, your presence becomes more noticeable because it's no longer constant noise. Third, she sees you have a life and self-respect. And fourth, if she had some interest but felt overwhelmed, curiosity can appear. Why is he so calm? Why isn't he chasing? What's he doing? That curiosity isn't created by games. It's created by your self-leadership. Now a balanced truth. If she doesn't actually like you, pulling back won't magically turn disinterest into desire. What it will do is protect your dignity and stop you from wasting time. And that's still a powerful win. Pulling back can reveal reality faster. Will she reciprocate? Will she initiate? Will she respect you? If not, you'll know sooner. Here are concrete behaviors for healthy pulling back. Reply a little slower sometimes instead of instantly every time. Stop sending multiple messages in a row. Shift from constant check-ins to 1 quality message. Stop begging for attention and start proposing clear plans. Protect your schedule and communicate your availability. Stop over-explaining to be understood and speak clearly. Create space for her to initiate and observe whether she steps into that space. And at the same time, keep your kindness. No cold tone, no sarcasm, no scene as punishment. Here are quick scripts you can use. If she replies rarely, no worries. When you're free and feel like talking, message me. If she often says, we'll see, all good. When your schedule is clear, let's lock it in, I don't like half plans. If she asks why you've been quieter, I'm good. I like talking to you, I just want a more balanced rhythm. If she acts upset because you're not constantly texting, I want us to feel relaxed, not pressured. I don't want to text out of fear of losing you. I want to text because it's genuinely enjoyable. These lines keep warmth and self-respect at the same time. One more crucial point. Pulling back only works if you use that space to live your life, not to monitor her reaction. A lot of people say they're pulling back, but they're actually sitting there refreshing their phone, counting hours, and playing chess in their mind. That energy is still anxiety, and it will come back through long messages or unstable behavior. If you want to do this right, it's simple. After you send a message, return to your life, work, gym, friends, learning, sleep. Real attraction grows around a man with a real life, not a man watching a screen. And here's a healthy bonus. Pulling back gives both of you the chance to see if interest is genuine. If she only responds when you push, she may like being chased more than she likes you. But if you step back slightly and she still reaches out, still wants to meet, still asks about you, that's real interest. Pulling back becomes a clean filter, no traps, no tests, just balance. Let's wrap this into a simple formula. Curiosity increases when you create value, space, and self-leadership. Value means you're someone worth being curious about, warmth, stability, depth, respect. Space means you don't fill her world with constant messages and attention. Self-leadership means you're not emotionally dependent on her response to feel okay. When those three exist, curiosity can show up naturally. If you only pull back without value, or you pull back with punishment energy, curiosity turns into irritation and distance. For the next 7 days, here's a practical plan. 1. Check if you're texting too much. If yes, reduce quantity and raise quality. 2. If you always plan, switch to offering 2 options and let her choose. 3. Protect your routines and stop canceling important things to stay connected. 4. If texting triggers anxiety, regulate your nervous system, breathe, move your body, dear work, sleep, don't use texting as a coping mechanism. 5. If she still doesn't reciprocate after you restore balance, respect the truth and walk away with dignity. You don't need to pull someone toward you who isn't choosing you. The right person won't require you to trade your self-respect for love. And here's the line I want you to remember. You don't pull back to make her chase. You pull back to return to your rightful position. When you're in that position, self-respecting, calm, and living your life, curiosity, if it's meant to happen, becomes a natural result. And if it doesn't, you still win, because you protected your time and your dignity. And that's all for today's episode. Thank you for taking the time to listen all the way to the end. If you found this episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe and share it with someone who might need to hear this. I'll see you again in the next episode.